Hello, my name is Paul Cree, poet, rapper, and storyteller. This is the story of Demeter and Persephone. Demeter was the goddess of the harvest. With her daughter Persephone by her side, tools in hand, they tended the land and they bossed it. They were goddesses. The fields, the orchards, the hills, the trees, the valleys, all of the green, day and night, all year round, keeping the world bathed in sunlight, well fed and breathing, decorating the land in all manner of beautiful scenery, nature's finest painters and landscapers. Until one day, that all changed. A few of Persephone's mates wanted to chill up in the woods. Of course, Persephone wanted to go. Demeter wanted to reward her for being good, so she didn't say no. Off Persephone bops up into the woods, and she had a blast, dancing with her mates and having a laugh. So lost in the moment, she went wandering off and must not have seen that Hades bowling past in his horse-drawn whip, blacked out, big sound and body kit, bit of a bad boy, infamous god of the underworld and all things dark. Hades had taken a liking to Persephone. He knew who she was. He knew she was a god, just like him, and he was thinking, I want to make her my queen, take her down below and rule the underworld with me. So he instructed one of his boys to plant a very pretty and rare species of flower in the orchard that Persephone was fast approaching, knowing when she saw it, she'd be besotted, and then wallop, in steps Hades. Do you come here often? The first part of the plan worked like a treat. Persephone sees the flower and it instantly catches her eye, enchanted by its beauty. Hades arrives, drops his best chat-up lines, but Persephone ignores him though, and doesn't reply. Maybe Hades underestimated her. She was more interested in investigating this rare species of flower, delicately holding it at his spine, than hearing about Hades' dark underworld kingdom down upon high. Yeah, is that right, mate? Yeah, good for you. Hades was on the back foot. Yeah, that is right, Persephone. Do you know what, yeah? I'm just like you. Like, I'm well into flowers and that. Yeah, proper passionate about flowers. I love them. Oh, yeah. What's the name of this one then? Oh, like that one. Oh, yeah, like it's called, what's the name again? Oh, it's like daffodil or whatever. Listen, I've got loads of those back at my place, bigger and more beautiful than you've ever seen. Persephone was no mug when it came to men, and she was getting ready to tell him to jog on. Hades had not been knocked back before. He was thinking, who does she think she is? Does she know who I am? And he was getting angry and impatient to the point where he physically grabbed her, forced her into his carriage, turbocharged his horses, and off they galloped till they reached a nearby river. Hades commanded the water parted, and then they vanished deep underground to Hades' underworld palace. Persephone was angry, scared, and confused.
My world was turned upside down.
So now I am just living with what I have.
Nobody really thought my fate was down to me anyway, did they?
There will always be people more powerful than me.
I have to adapt. I have to be flexible.
I have to rise up so I can fight back.
So many voices talking to me. I only want to listen to my own voice.
And it's just saying, survive.
When they arrived deep down underground, Hades stopped being so forceful and began to be a little more polite, even remembering a few basic hospitalities, and he showed Persephone around his kingdom. Persephone was tired and hungry, so Hades pulled out a small pot of pomegranate seeds, opened up her palm and said, take 6 of these, it'll sort you right out, trust me. Time passed in the dark in a way that Persephone had never seen. No hills, no trees, no valleys. And she thought about her mum, Demeter, and what had become of her, and would she get to see her? But after a while, she starts to think, you know what, maybe this Hades is all right. Sometimes he's nice, and occasionally funny. And when Hades got down on one knee, pulled out the most beautiful ring she'd ever seen, Persephone agreed, and she married him. Meanwhile, up above ground, Demeter is doing her nothing. Persephone hasn't returned and she hasn't heard anything. She was patient at first, like a good trusting mum, gave her the benefit of the doubt, but then the doubt started to seize the benefit and she was stressing now. So Demeter sorted out her mates. They said she just disappeared. All reason gave in to the deepest of fears. A mother losing her daughter.
I am a mother, landscaper without a flower, without that bud that will never bloom, that will never grow, in my orchard that is bare. Taken forcefully, without a chance, without a care, snapped at the stem. There was a flower that was once so beautiful, now withering away in darkness, overshadowed by greed and deception. My flower will never bloom. My flower will never shine in my orchard that is bare. My orchard may rise in splendour half the year, but wither the latter. Is that right? Is that fair? My flower will never bloom.
The angst was felt from the mountains to the water. Demeter abandoned her work and began her search. She travelled far and wide, but no sign of Persephone, till she came across the orchard where Hades had taken her. Demeter sensed a change in her nature, heard a few whispers from some nearby water, followed it to a river. The water spoke, said from deep below that Hades geezer arose, and now she sat on his throne. Demeter was livid. She ran straight to the big man, Zeus, god of all things over land. Demeter demanded that he bring her back. Zeus refused. Turns out he'd made a deal with Hades beforehand. Zeus wanted to keep things sweet with the Dark Lord, so he agreed when Hades asked for her hand. Hades was as powerful as Zeus, and between the two sat the delicate balance of dark and light as Zeus.
Power, cunning, deception, vulnerable, entitlement, patriarchy, sinister, regret, destiny, love. All is not as it seems. Shadows of society are being brought into the light at last. We can try to suppress and repress, but it's only a matter of time before the shit rises to the surface, ready to be purged. Purge or integrate? Purge or integrate? Only fate can tell. But I will say this, you are just as I am. The darkness I represent also lives within you.
I want to risk a feud. Demeter protested. You can't do this to me, Zeus. That's my daughter. Zeus was having none of it. Demeter was tired, exasperated, and exhausted, but determined to bring Persephone back. If that's the way it is, Zeus, then watch what happens when I don't go back to tending the land. And I won't stop stopping until Persephone is back by my side, tools in hand. Demeter retreated to a mountain in protest, furious, but with a deep underlying sadness. And that sadness was a chisel chipping away at her strength. The fields and the orchards soon became neglected, and all of the people so dependent on her tending quickly developed empty bellies. The food chain became unlocked, animals began to disappear, the whole ecosystem was beginning to collapse. Yet still Demeter sat on her mountain in quiet protest. Zeus, seeing the state of the land and his people, was forced to act. He sought out Demeter. He said, listen, here's what I'm going to do for you. You can drop down to Hades and you can bring Persephone back on the one condition that she's not eaten. If she's eaten, then I'm afraid she has to stay. Demeter wasted no time. She was down there in an instant, bursting through the doors of Hades' palace, where Persephone was sat on her throne. They immediately embraced. Emotions were expressed, tears were shed, finally reunited, mother and daughter. When they both calmed down, Persephone showed her around, and Demeter explained that she'd come to bring her back with the blessing of the big man. What's the condition? Hades asked. The condition is that she's not eaten. You've not eaten, have you? Suddenly turned into Persephone, who was feeling a little bit miffed she'd only just been included in the conversation. Well, yeah, Mum. Of course I've eaten. I've been eating good. Just this morning, Hades gave me 6 pomegranate seeds. It was a devastating blow for Demeter. See ya, remarked Hades slyly. She ran straight back to Zeus, protesting about how unfair this all was. There's nothing I can do, said Zeus. You heard the conditions. She's eaten, and pomegranate seeds at that. She can't come back, and that's that. Again, Demeter refused to give in. Listen, Zeus, big man, God of all things, if you refuse to help me bring her back, I'm never going back to tend the land, even if I starve for the rest of my days. Zeus, in his wisdom, knew that Demeter wasn't messing about, and it was more than just anger that was driving her. It was a deep sense of loss, of sadness and grief, and the breaking of a sacred bond between mother and daughter. And Zeus knew the land couldn't endure another shortage. If Demeter in protest went back to her mountain, the world may not ever recover and meet its end. But Zeus also knew that he'd made a deal with Hades, so he had to compromise. So for the last time, he said, listen, Demeter, here's what I'm going to do for you. As Persephone has eaten 6 pomegranate seeds, I'm going to allow her to spend 6 months of the year with Hades and the other 6 up here with you. Demeter knew this was Zeus's final move, so she sent for Persephone, and they spent the next 6 months happy, up above ground. The land regrew, food was restored into people's bellies, the sun shone, the beauty of normality restored, until the 6 months was done, and Persephone had to descend underground with Hades. Demeter retreated to her mountain in sadness, and a new cold bleakness descended over the land, and it remained that way until 6 months was done and Persephone was returned to spend it with her mum. Such was the cycle of summer and winter until their days were done.